Look at me. I look like a podcaster. I don't know what I'm doing. Hey friends, it's Van. I'm back with another art vlog. This time with more camera angles. Yes, this is another new development for this channel. I've had this camera for the longest time and it was just sort of languishing at the bottom of my drawer, so I decided to pull it out and actually use it. But I also have this lovely new microphone that I am borrowing from my partner, Michael. He's letting me borrow it for my videos, so that's really nice of him. So I hope the audio sounds really good, super crisp. But yeah, this is the third episode of my art vlog, and today I will be mostly talking about the Inside Out 2 movie that we saw last weekend, and I will also be working in my sketchbook. So let's get started. As I've mentioned in my previous vlogs, I am really trying to fill up this sketchbook, and I've recently been hitting a pretty nice groove with this art journaling this month. I'm just trying to record like little tidbits of my week, and it's really helping me sort of remember things like the movies I've watched or the people I saw, like just little daily tidbits like that. So last weekend we visited my dad for Father's Day, and we decided to take a bunch of like family photos in the backyard. We don't normally do that, but I thought it was a good time to do it since everybody was there, and I thought it would be fun to draw like a family photo in my sketchbook, and it turned out really funny. I really like seeing my family in cartoon form. I got a huge kick out of that. But yeah, we mostly just ate a lot when I was there. My mom made so much food as usual. She's been making these amazing like homemade chicken wings, and they were so good. I kept telling her like she should probably start like some sort of chicken wing stand, like a chicken wing empire, if you will. But yeah, it was really good. It was really good seeing family. But we also saw Inside Out 2 that same weekend, and that's actually the subject matter for what I'm doing in my sketchbook for this video. I know in my last video I spent a majority of the time talking about Furiosa, the movie, and now I'm back talking about another movie. I swear I don't watch that many movies. It's just there's been a lot of good movies this summer, and it's the only thing to do when it's like 100 degrees outside. So yeah, lots of movies. But I thoroughly enjoyed Inside Out 2. We watched it with my partner's family, and we all decided to dress up as like the different emotions from the first movie to the theater. So I was dressed up as disgust and Michael, my partner, was dressed as fear. So that was really fun. They were just t-shirts that we got online, but it was still a lot of fun. It kind of added a lot of like hype to the movie going experience. I might like this one more than the first one. I might be in the minority with that opinion. They're both solid movies. I think the second one felt like a pretty natural progression in the story of Riley and her sort of emotional coming of age journey, I suppose. So, and it's also a really funny movie too. I just like them both pretty equally, but maybe more for the second one. Now the reason it works so well for me is probably the introduction of the anxiety character. I mean, I don't know a single person that isn't dealing with some level of anxiety in their life, including myself. So for a movie like this to like come out and talk about anxiety like front and center like that is just very comforting to me. I really have no notes on the anxiety character. I thought she was perfect. Great voice acting. You can kind of tell that like Pixar has really done like their research. Like they probably talked to like a psychologist or something, because anxiety is such like a tricky and difficult emotion to deal with, which I think makes it the perfect kind of villain for this kind of story. And it's just a perfect thing to explore for Inside Out. I think the defining thing about Inside Out 2 is how it shows you that like anxiety can be both like a good thing and a bad thing, right? I was afraid she was just going to be presented as this constantly frazzled, annoying character, because that's kind of how we normally think of anxiety, but they really didn't. They capture the nuance of this emotion, and we always want to paint anxiety in a purely negative light, but that's only when we let it take over our lives. Anxiety is like really there for problem solving and making the best, I guess, strategy for the future. And that's how she's initially presented in the movie, and I just thought that was really spot on. Because I know, like, when I'm stuck in a worry loop or I'm like ruminating on something, my brain just thinks I'm problem solving. And yeah, I just thought it was really cool. One of my favorite like lines in the movie is when they go into this like imagination tent and it's got all these little guys coming up with like the worst case scenarios for Riley to worry about, and Joy is like, they're just using her imagination against her. I just laughed out loud at that line, because that's definitely what anxiety feels like. It just feels like your imagination has been hijacked. But yeah, I really enjoyed like how they were able to illustrate all of these pretty complex ideas. I think that's why the first one was so impressive, just concept-wise. The world building is just so creative and fresh, and the designs for the new characters are really great. I love that Embarrassment wears a hoodie. I just thought that was really cute. But yeah, I did cry a little bit during the movie. I mean, it wouldn't be a proper Pixar movie if it didn't like kind of crush you a little bit inside. There's gotta be that bing bong moment, right? And I think for this movie, it was when both joy and anxiety have like their own separate emotional breakdowns. It's sad, but it's true. It's kind of striking when you compare the two, because one is dealing with like the loss of joy as you grow older, and then the other is about the lack of certainty as you grow older. And like these are like two things that I think about a lot. And they're just kind of like hard universal truths. I think that's why it made me tear up so much, because when a children's movie spells it out to you, the very things that have been like plaguing your mind, and shows you that it's okay. I think it feels like one step closer to accepting those hard truths. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that type of thing in movies, where they highlight stuff like that. I also just love that Pixar is able to capture all of this while still making you feel pretty invested in Riley's world at the same time. That's like an amazing juggling act for them in terms of storytelling. And all she's doing in this movie is like going to hockey camp. There's like no life or death situation here, but I kind of like that it's a small, intimate sort of event in the grand scope of like Riley's life, compared to how huge and like earth-shattering it feels in the scope of her mind during this short amount of time. Oftentimes it's these like smaller moments that can make a huge impact on your life and your sense of self. And I just find that these kinds of stories to be just so much more interesting and relatable than like watching another Marvel movie where the world is ending for the 20th time. It's almost like it's just the exact opposite of that, you know? It's a story that tells you that it's not the end of the world, even if stuff doesn't go the way that you had hoped, right? But yeah, I would say this is a very triumphant return to form for Pixar. They really needed this. Like, and it's not like I'm saying their recent movies were like super terrible or anything. You know, Turning Red was really funny. Lucas was really good. What was the other one? Soul was really good. That was like very life affirming. I didn't really like Lightyear. I think everybody just kind of collectively thought to themselves, what does this have anything to do with Toy Story? But aside from that, like, they haven't been terrible. It's just like, I feel as though the animation is still amazing, but the story is like missing that little bit of spark that they've had in like during their golden era, you know, of Pixar. So I'm sure it's because the company has changed so drastically in like the last 10 years, that maybe they're kind of losing steam a little bit. I don't know. But when we went to go see Inside Out 2, there was actually a dude like standing in the hallway handing out surveys for us to fill out. And they were just asking us like our general opinion on the movie. And I thought that was very interesting. Like, I've never seen that happen before at a movie showing. So it seems like maybe Pixar is actively trying to gauge what people are really responding to in their movies. So that was a kind of a nice indicator that maybe they still care about their audience. At least that's what it seemed like to me. But I did leave them like a very glowing review of the movie. But yeah, I love when movies surprise me. I think what surprised me about the Inside Out movies in general is how far we've come in talking about emotional intelligence. Like, we didn't get this sort of thing in the 90s, right? Like, I wish I had something like this come out when I was like an anxious little kid. Like, don't get me wrong, like I loved, you know, The Lion King and all of that, but it would have been nice to be told that your emotions are valid despite whether they're good or bad, you know? Like, your emotions don't have to dictate your life. And I think that's a really important message and lesson, not just for like kids, but especially for adults. I don't know, it's like we live in an age where we have to constantly remind ourselves that it's okay to feel difficult emotions. Because sometimes it does feel like the world is ending for like the 20th time. I think it does help to kind of imagine your emotions as like a circus of Muppets in your head. You can't really be mad at them, you know, because they're just Muppets. Like, they don't know anything. Anxiety doesn't really know like what the hell she's talking about. But yeah, I think one of the reasons I have been enjoying like this whole art journaling process that I've been starting is it keeps me from like thinking too hard, which sounds weird. It kind of slows my brain down a little bit, because when you struggle with anxiety, it's really easy to like waste an entire day or an entire year worrying about stuff and just, you know, getting stuck in like these weird thought loops. And drawing as an activity is just such a nice respite from that. And I think looking at art as like a form of therapy is probably my best bet at getting me sort of out of this weird like creative block that I'm in, this kind of little funk. So I will definitely keep that in mind as I move forward with my art practice. I think the biggest takeaway from like this session is that, you know, we often put joy on the back burner as we get older. It's especially hard when you turn like a hobby into a source of income or your career. And I think that's part of the struggle that I have right now, on top of like all the usual anxieties that I have about life. So I think, yeah, slowing my brain down and just learning to summon that joy of like making art again is probably the most important thing for me to focus on right now. And I'm already feeling like a little bit better and like a bit more creative lately. So yeah, I think I'm on a better path. But anyway, thank you so much for staying until the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope it motivated you to run out and watch a bunch of Pixar movies, and reminded you to do something joyful for yourself today. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.